History is the story of us. It's about the people who came before us and the choices they made. Understanding our past helps us understand our present. It teaches us about our successes and our mistakes. By studying history, we learn how to create a better future. American history is a tapestry of many stories. It's a story of struggle and triumph, of hope and hardship. It's a story about ordinary people who did extraordinary things. Learning about this history is essential for everyone living in America. It helps us understand who we are as a nation. It also helps us see how our actions today can shape the future. The story of America begins long before the United States existed. Native American tribes lived here for thousands of years before Europeans arrived. They had their own cultures, languages, and ways of life. In the 1600s, Europeans began to establish colonies in North America. They came from England, France, Spain, and other countries. Many sought religious freedom or economic opportunity. These early settlers often clashed with Native Americans. The Europeans wanted land and resources. This led to conflict and displacement of Native American populations. The arrival of Europeans dramatically changed the landscape of North America. By the 1700s, 13 British colonies had developed along the Atlantic coast. The colonists began to resent British rule. They wanted more control over their own affairs. In 1776, the colonists declared their independence from Great Britain. This started the American Revolutionary War. The colonists, led by George Washington, fought bravely for their freedom. The war lasted for 8 long years. Finally, in 1783, Great Britain recognized the independence of the United States. The new nation adopted a constitution based on principles of liberty and self-government. Despite its ideals of freedom, the United States struggled with the issue of slavery. By the mid-1800s, the country was divided. The North opposed slavery, while the South relied on enslaved labor for its economy. In 1860, Abraham Lincoln was elected president. Lincoln opposed the expansion of slavery. This led 11 Southern states to secede from the Union, forming the Confederate States of America. The Civil War began in 1861 and lasted 4 years. It was a brutal and bloody conflict. More than 600,000 soldiers died. In the end, the Union triumphed, and slavery was abolished. Section 5. Rebuilding a Nation, the Reconstruction Era. After the Civil War, the nation faced the daunting task of rebuilding. The South was devastated. The Reconstruction era aimed to reintegrate the South into the Union and grant rights to formerly enslaved people. During Reconstruction, African Americans made significant strides. They voted, held office, and built communities. However, they also faced enormous challenges, including violence, discrimination, and poverty. The federal government's commitment to Reconstruction waned over time. By the 1870s, Reconstruction efforts were largely abandoned. This left many of the promises of equality unfulfilled. Section 6. Machines in Progress, the Industrial Revolution. The late 19th and early 20th centuries saw massive industrial growth in America. New technologies like the steam engine and electricity transformed production and transportation. Factories sprang up in cities, attracting millions of workers from rural areas and immigrants seeking opportunity. The Industrial Revolution created vast wealth but also led to harsh working conditions, inequality, and environmental problems. Labor unions emerged to fight for workers' rights. They demanded better wages, safer conditions, and an end to child labor. The struggle for workers' rights would continue for decades to come. Section 7. Fighting for Equality, the Civil Rights Movement. Despite the end of slavery, African Americans continued to face discrimination and segregation. In the mid-20th century, the Civil Rights Movement emerged to challenge these injustices. Led by figures like Martin Luther King Jr. and Rosa Parks, the movement used non-violent protests and civil disobedience to demand equal rights. They faced fierce resistance and violence. Their efforts led to landmark legislation, such as the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. These laws outlawed discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. Section 8. America Today, a reflection of the past. Today, the United States is a diverse and complex nation. It is a global superpower with a rich history and a legacy shaped by its past. The events of the past continue to influence American society today. The struggle for equality and justice continues. From economic inequality to racial disparities, America still grapples with the consequences of its past. Understanding this history is crucial to addressing these challenges. The United States has come a long way, but there is still work to be done. By learning from the past, we can create a more just and equitable future for all Americans. Section 9. Conclusion: Lessons for the Future. American history is a story of progress and struggle. It is a testament to the human spirit's ability to overcome adversity and strive for a better tomorrow. By understanding our past, we can learn from our mistakes and build a better future for all. As citizens, it is our duty to engage with our history, to learn from it, and to use those lessons to create a more just and equitable society. The story of America is still being written, and we all have a role to play in shaping its next chapter.